My name is Sven Neubert-Bajadon. I'm the product manager of the product Beta Control, part of the DCI team. I'm happy to have you all in the session, and I'm happy to have given the slot to introduce Beta Control to you this morning. When preparing the session for today, I assumed that there might be some people amongst the audience who have little or no knowledge regarding Beta Control. Niels called it the revival of a product or something like this just a few seconds ago. So what I did is I included a part introducing the product as such in the beginning to start with, then coming to the news with a lighthouse and finishing with a live presentation. I hope very much that this will go well. That's the most fun, incidentally. So what you can expect in the next hour from my side is, as I said in the first part, an introduction of Beta Control for those amongst you who have not heard of the product yet, or who have little knowledge and would like to get a bit more information about the basics. So please bear with me when it becomes a bit theoretical in the first part. Second part will be what's new with Lighthouse. There I will talk about the new functionalities. Mirko and also Niels have mentioned control for DocZ already. I will talk about this, and I will show this, of course, in the live part. That will be part 3 of my presentation. So let's get started with some theoretical information. It's rather theoretical. It's information that actually introduces the product to you so that you can actually evaluate and see where it might be of help for you. What is Beta Control? If I was to put this in 1 or 2 sentences, what you see on the screen, that would be what my answer would be. Beta Control is a web application that enables you to access, display, and process data held in DCI products. So the important terms of this are highlighted here. It's a web application as opposed to the established and well-known ISPF user interfaces that the administrators of the DCI products have been using for many, many years now. They are established. Beta Control offers something on top of that. What is this? I try to explain this in a few minutes in my presentation. And important as well, that is the second part that is highlighted, the second term here, is that Beta Control is based on the information in the DCI products. Which DCI products are currently supported by Beta Control, linked to Beta Control? They are displayed at the bottom of the slide. You already see it in the new look and feel, so the new colors for the products. That would be control for JobZ, control for LogZ, CheckZ, and DocZ with version 8 now. You have some examples for the products that are handled by Beta Control. In JobZ, that would be the agents systems, the definitions of those, the jobs and the events that are handled by JobZ. Then we have the LogZ, which is a well-known product for many, many years as well. Here we have, under the reigning of job logs, of control at the moment, the job logs and reader information. That is activities like reader start as well. CheckZ would be the checking procedures and the jobs that are in the scope of control. And for DocZ, that's new, is for a starting point, the print queue information. You will see that in a second. I will show you what control covers in that sense. What does Beta Control offer a bit more precisely than on the previous slide? As I said, it offers the access to data held in the DCI products that I outlined just before, Important here is to know and to bear in mind that all the calls that beta control does against the backends in question are done via a REST API. So this is an application interface and programming interface that is documented, and this allows it to integrate those calls against the backends, job set, log set, check set, doc set. You have seen that on the previous slide, to include this access, this information, this handling in existing customer applications, in your applications that you already have, or in your processes, the graphical user interface that you will see in a few moments. This is basically on top of this functionality of accessing data. Incidentally, the starting point of beta control as we know it today was exactly the need to access data in job set at the time in order to integrate it in a customer application. So what was needed was the possibility to access the job definitions, the agent definitions, the system definitions in our product job set, and this doing via an API. And with that starting point, JobSet became the first product in control. It was called Enterprise Control Center at the time. Some of you might know that term. And that was the starting point. And on top of this access of this API call framework came a graphical user interface. So it's the API plus the graphical user interface that actually made up the first version of beta control, ECC as it was called then. The other products like the access to logged set, checked set, or with version 8 now also doc set, all that came later. But you have to bear in mind the very main point of beta control is that possibility to access our data in the different backends in all the instances using that API. And you will see the graphical user interface going with this. And please bear in mind, everything you will see in a few moments in that graphical user interface is done via those API calls, and those calls can be integrated in your processes. So that's very much information on just the first point. Second point that comes with beta control, which is quite helpful as well, is that you can group backend instances. That is, you can put together several instances of one same product type. So if you have different, for example, instances of beta log set or now beta doc set as well, you could put the instances, the critical instances of any backend type in one backend group. I will show you what that looks like in the graphical user interface as well. So that's an advantage as well. So you have more than just one instance that you can have actually a look at any given moment. These backend instances, these backend groups, they can be customized. That can be done for groups of users, or that can be done for every user, provided the users have the permission to do so. And last not least, the advantage with beta control, as opposed to the as opposed to the well-known ISPF user interfaces, is of course that you can actually involve now new user group, younger users, non-mainframe users. So those groups can now access data in the backend as well, even if it is just, for example, for helpdesk. So I come to that in a moment, in order to see something that is going on in the backend. So even if they do not administer or they actually react to information, to errors in the backend, you could actually have that information displayed in, and that's the last term on that slide, you could display that in dashboards, and those dashboards are also customizable. They come with every backend that is connected to beta control. So this is what does Beta Control offer in a bit more detail, but of course that's not all the truth. I will be happy to explain more in another session in another context. Who is Beta Control intended for? I have mentioned that briefly on the previous points already. So basically, we see as target user groups for a Beta Control operations and helpdesk. So they might use the monitoring capabilities using the dashboards that can be refreshed automatically. And they could, with those dashboards or in other ways, because please bear in mind, you could actually integrate that in your processes as well. So there might be other ways of informing helpdesk people, operations people about errors or something like this. So that would be something for operations in order to be able to react immediately. And then we have possibilities for administrators. I said that in the beginning when we started with Beta Control, I think it's now 7, 8 years ago now, it was basically what I call operations administrators. So that were administrators who needed to add agents and systems to Beta Job Z. So rather than going to any backend instance of Beta Job Z, they could do in the TSO part, they could do it now from within Beta Control with Beta Control capabilities that are, for example, that you can copy definitions, that you can use a wizard with the definitions so that you are guided when you insert new systems, definitions, users. All that is done using a wizard. That's a capability, that's the functionality that comes with Beta Control. Under ISPF, you had to know, and you still have to know what you are doing. People normally know that. So that's the people who work or who have been working with the product for many, many years. They know exactly what they are doing. They have their scripts, whatever is needed. But now imagine you have new people, you have younger people, you have people who do not know the product as well, who do not know ISPF ZOS so well, and all those people can now, of course, you need to be trained, but once trained, they can now actually help in that field as well. So all that goes to the administrators part. Yeah, so they can they can use that product in order to actually do their part on that. Last not least, not the least uninteresting part is, of course, with that web application and with the dashboard functionalities and this cumulative approach so that you can actually put back-end information together that might become interesting for managers as well. I will show you some parts, or you will see some parts in the live part in a few moments. That might be of interest for managers so that they have a view or a very quick overview of what's going on with the products. You will see it for the beta systems product, the beta system products in our context, but please bear in mind you can integrate it in your portals as well. So the information that you will see here very singularly just for our products, they could be alongside with other information in your dashboards as well. So that's the who is it intended for. And just to make it a bit clearer, some guiding principles that we have in mind when we talk about Beta Control, when we develop Beta Control, that's the guiding principles. In brief, all process data is stored in the backends. So that means the backends, the DCI backends in question, as you know them today, all the data, they are in there. All the processing, the reading in of data, the collection, as I said here, the archiving, for Beta Logset, the alerting, for Beta DocSet, the printing, everything is done as normal. That's nothing to do with Beta Control. What Beta Control provides is Beta Control sits on top of that and watches it according to the needs that you have. So everything in the backends remains the same, the processes remain the same. It's just that we get the information out of the backends according to your need, and we provide it in a very flexible way. So the more backends that are connected, the more valuable, of course, beta control becomes for the user. Other part that is important, that's what I mentioned several times, so I will not go into details. All data access to backends via REST API, so that's what I said several times, and that regardless of use the control graphical user interface that you see. So as I said, you can integrate the API calls directly in your processes. You never have to see the actual user interface that we provide for you. Incidentally, we have two types of users. We have one type of users who use the interface that you will see in a few moments, and we have another type of users who do use the APIs exclusively. So both works perfectly well for us, and we have that in mind when we develop the product further. So important as well for you, probably the security check for the data access to the backends that remains in the backends. So that's done via the product security exits, the Beta 93 UXSec, or whatever product there might be behind. So this is done via the product security exit. Whatever you set up in beta control, so you could have a user who is in a group that has access in beta control to several backends. So the backend as such can be assigned to a user, but whether or not a very user can access data or handle data in that backend, that's decided by the settings for the backend, for that backend instance via the backend, via the security exit. That is defined for that specific instance of the backend, for that very system. So we handle some security, authentication, and user assignments in the beginning in control, but whether or not data can be manipulated, which data can be seen, etc., all that remains in the scope of the backends. And last not least, this is very important. When we do beta control implementations, we do not try at all to implement the ISPF, also the ISPF user interfaces that you know from the good old backends. We do not try to do that in a one-to-one approach. So not all functionality, not all options that a user has in the backend will be available in beta control. We rather have a look at which user group, also which other user group is using beta control and for what purpose. So there might be a near to all options like we have it for Beta Job Z, which is the oldest and the longest run product in control. There is quite a lot of options from the ISPF user interface that is already in beta control implemented. Basically, we do everything in order to avoid what we call a media break. So if a user group is using beta control, we do everything that this user group does not need to switch between beta control on one side and for some options back to the ISPF on the other side. So that's our guiding principle, that we provide for a specific user group the information, the options, and everything that is needed for that very user group in beta control, rather than actually rebuilding all options from another option. In another example, it would be beta doc set when we come to that. So it is not in our scope to rebuild all the print queue options like retry and print part of it, if that is not needed by your users that will use beta control for DocSet in the future. So please bear that in mind. That's our guiding principles when we further develop beta control, when we talk about enhancements. And just that brief overview, the information that is offered via beta control, that's what I mentioned on the previous slides. Here, just a brief summary. Monitoring information, that's what I said, administrative information like definitions and statistics information as well. We will see that live in a few moments. And before I come to the second part with the news for beta control, just one slide that outlines and finishes with the why. Why then can beta control be useful for you? Why is it worthwhile considering beta control as an enhancement to your existing environment? So if you imagine an environment, and that's probably not that far-fetched, with several DCI products, and for each DCI product, say 10, 20 or some more backend instances, we presented, or I presented that last week, and there was the answer. We have 30 instances of beta logset. It was in that presentation. So that's, as I said, that's not too far-fetched. You might see that in your environment, and you would like to actually keep control of all that. And the question now is, how do you manage all this today? Are you happy with that, or do you think we could actually enhance, we could actually improve points of that what we have today? And then you might ask yourself, or I'm asking you that, wouldn't it be easier if you actually were to share the work with other departments maybe? So you to include other user groups. And would that not be helpful in order to increase system stability and reactivity, as I outlined here? So I hope that gave, for those amongst you who had never heard of beta control or didn't know exactly what it is in principle, I hope those of you have a bit more information regarding that part. Beta control, what is it? Who is it intended for? What does it do? Thanks very much for the attention so far. That was part one. I'm switching now to what is new with Lighthouse. I just have to say what the time is. Oh, I have to be careful. So we will have live. In any case, that's the most fun. So I will not actually take that away from you and from me. So what is new with Lighthouse? There are some new features. That's very important. And the most important one on top, it's control for DocSet. Then we have improved user experience. We have, according to the back-end developments and to the needs that you actually address to us, we have implemented options for the backends, for specific backends, and we have, of course, applied latest design guide requests. That is, for example, and you will see that, is, for example, the new look and feel for the products that have undertaken a review, rebuild, whatever it is called in that sense. I do apologize. So they are now refreshed what their look and feel is concerned. And we have also some improvements regarding the installation and the administration of beta control. First off, that would be the introduction of groups. Then we have the improved default handling and automatic assignment of user groups. I will try to be not too theoretical about that, but I will talk about that. We have included some performance analysis, and we have support of further databases. Just to clarify that, having said that all the data is in the backends, I said precisely all the process data is in the backend. That remains true, but we have some user data, like, for example, the group definitions, like, for example, the assignments of users to groups and user-specific information when we change the dashboard settings, for example, or other user-specific information. All that data is contained in a specific database that goes with beta control. We have already some databases supported regarding this. We have an integrated database for that as well. But if you say, I would like to have another database to store those information, we have now the support, or we support now also MySQL. More about this in the documentation and the release notes as well. I will briefly talk about the 4 points that I have highlighted now. So on the next slides, before we go to the live part, you will hear something about this. I think I have one slide for each, so it won't be too boring, I hope. First of all, Control for DocZ, the very new component, the new member of the control family. The demand that was expressed in talks that we had before, and we evaluated whether it was worthwhile, including beta DocZ in control as well. The demand that we actually met was the errors in production should be recognized and corrected quickly. So there was the most important part in beta DocZ was the print part. In the back of our heads, we have also the reload queue and the convert queue that are in this product. But the most important, and for us the starting point, was the print queue. For those amongst you who know the product, is the option 3.2. So this is the print request, the status of the print request, and information about that. Those errors during that printing should be, as written here, recognized as soon as possible and be repaired as quickly as possible. So because for some, not for all, SLAs must be met, that's a very important point as well. And when we talked about beta control in that context, there was criteria. It was important, easy to handle, so intuitive user interface, automatic refresh when watching the queue, and the possibility to react. With the first release of Control for DocZ, we have included the print queue information. That's not the print queue information yet, but we have included the print queue information. We will see that in a second. And we have included the information also from the print queue in a dashboard. So what you would see in the dashboard that I have here on that slide, for example, so already from that dashboard, you would actually be able to see in the print queue that you have in your scope and you're watching, you have 2 print errors. Clicking on that here in that very dashboard, you would actually drill down to the errors and you would have the information about the print request. You will see that in a second. So then you have the saved searches. That is, if you have favorite searches that you have to do every time, you can actually save those searches for you. I rather show that to you live because that's more interesting then. But important to know is that those saved searches can be included in your dashboard. So whatever is there of importance for you, only print request for a specific print destination, or only a specific type or specific range. This can be specified in a so-called saved search, a favorite search, and that favorite search could be put on that dashboard in order to be monitored. And we have some first administration, as they are already known for the other products user who have beta control already. They know for each product we have the so-called usage report and also the version display, so which is the level of the versions that have the products that are connected. That was control. You will see that in a second, and I prefer to show that live to you. Then some further improvements in the respect of user experience. User experience means that we actually do our very best in order to help the users in front of the screen to work efficiently, to work nicely, and to enjoy the work as far as this is possible. So first, I mentioned 2 here, is that labels were reworked, for example. So we have now the standard product names in the backend selector. Up until now, we had the internal names, like, for example, EGM for beta job set. And that, of course, is not speaking for a user group that we would like to address. They know beta job Z. They have heard of beta job Z. They are responsible maybe now for that product, and they do not find that anywhere. So in order to help them and in order to guide those people as well, we have actually put, as you might expect from the beginning, we put the standard product names, the official product names, and we just keep the internal product names in brackets alongside this information in the front end. Internally, of course, we have the internal abbreviations, but that does not concern the user in front of the screen. Then other thing along the same lines is that the rather nicely, and for people who know the product, is of course no product. When talking about CP in the context of beta check that, everybody knows that's a checking procedure. But what about people who have not worked with the product yet? So they know now this is about checking procedures. Things like this. This is just some examples, but this is something in order to show how we help people, how we help users in order to enjoy and to use the product. We also have reworked some messages. I have written that here. Login display messages. They are not always talking in the sense of, so what am I supposed to do now? Am I supposed to do something now? Do I have to call the administrator or do I have, etc.? So we have changed that to bring in some more clarity here. If you come across messages that you would like to see improved, please address that to us and we take care of this. We will do our very best in order to help the users to work with the product very efficiently, as I said. Then we have some user options. That's important as well. So there's the two examples here, copy show. We have here the copy and show for definitions, for example. So if you have a definition talking about job set, for example, and you would like to have basically exactly the same definition, just one digit, for example, in an IP address needs to be changed, or a letter because it's a different backend, or whatever the background might be, rather than inserting the whole definition anew, and which is of course prone to errors, typing, spelling errors, whatever. We have now this copy for agents, for systems, for users, wherever that applies sensibly. We have included a copy of existing definitions, which can then be changed, modified as needed, and then saved as new definitions. And this, of course, helps an administrator in that case very much in order to work very nicely, quickly, and efficiently in that sense, and without or avoiding most errors that are possible when you start a definition anew. Here, the last four are some new information, some new options that we provide with JobSet. That's according to some requests that we had from customers. And I was happy actually to exchange regarding this in preparation of the new version, because I actually was invited to talk with the user in question, so I could see where the need was. I understood it, and it was exactly along the lines of avoiding media breaks that we actually included this information in beta control. So with this, hopefully, the users of that company who use beta control will now use beta control more than before, because now they have much more information, much more options in beta control than they had before, and they do not need to go back to beta to the backend on ISPF. So that's something, that's the way we work, and that's the reason why we included this information. Further improvement user experience. This very briefly, because this is for administrators basically, but it's important to know up until the last version, so including version 4, which was the latest for beta control, it was necessary to assign roles and backends to a user. So for each user was decided which role and which backends, which role, which backend was this user allowed to access. And this became, of course, when you have several backends, when you have several users, and you have different roles, this becomes, of course, not, or at some point, this is not manageable anymore. So we introduced with version 8, we introduced that notion of groups, which is, as I state here on the screen, kind of a persona that is a sample user of a specific department. And this user gets all the roles, that is all with the roles, all the functions, all the access needs, modifying something, inserting something, seeing only something, and all the backends, beta logs at A, beta logs at B, C, whatever instances of the backends, whatever backend type, this is assigned to that logical user, that persona. That's the upper part of that schema that you can see here. And then only the user needs to be assigned to that specific persona, to that specific group. If a new backend needs to be added, that is added only to the group, no need to add that to the user anymore. If a new user joins the group, that's done here immediately, no problem with that. If a user leaves the group, just delete the user. So that's the normal point, basically, the normal handling that you would expect. In the beginning of beta control, that was not required, but it was required to actually have a very granular access philosophy, specific roles with specific functions to backends. Therefore, we were a bit complex. In the beginning, it became easier with version 8. Now, any questions, please address them to us. Yeah, so that's regarding the groups. And last not least, the fourth point of this, what I wanted to show, what I wanted to present before I go to live is the performance analysis. Important here, this is part, or this has been done in the Agilizer for data processing. And because this Agilizer is integrated part of control as well as beta view, that performance analysis is available for control as well as beta view. So whatever, or in addition to the features for beta view that you will hear about in another session, please bear in mind that this, for an administrator, that's administrative part here, that's new functionality for beta view and beta control version 8. Incidentally, because this is really helpful for you and for us and the support as well, we have integrated this in version 7.735, I think, of beta view. Please check that. But we have integrated in the version 7 for beta view already. That is Agilizer version 7 already. And for beta view, because beta view is using the Agilizer as well, as I said, this is available for the current version of beta, or the previous version now of beta control as well. So this is performance analysis. What do we check? We check basically everything that is being done in the virtual machine. It's really a lot of information, not going into detail here. Important is basically everything that happens there is checked. There is the memory, there is a remaining memory, whatever. And the important part, for support purposes, there is a predefined procedure that you can zip that information and send it to support so that people in support and development can analyze why there might be problems in your environment. Yeah, I'm not going into detail here. That would actually be too much, but something that you might find helpful as I said, as an administrator. So with this, I have finished the theoretical part. I thank you very much for your patience so far. Coming now to beta control live, for your patience and your interest, I hope. Coming now to beta control live, and I hope that everything will work correctly. So this is what beta control, it's a bit dark, but this is the new look and feel. This is how beta control is actually offering itself to you. We log in and we are presented with a dashboard. Some of you might know this, some of you do maybe not know it. I will talk about beta control in general here, and I will outline and I will go to beta control for DocSet, of course, in particular in a few seconds. But whatever I'm saying in the next few minutes regarding beta control applies to all the components that are connected to beta control. Components being, as I have shown before, control for job set, log set, check set, or doc set. Here you see the so-called product selector. I could toggle between the backend products, the backend types. We are here in control for job set. We will see in a few moments control for doc set. I will leave the other products, backend products aside, not because I don't like them, but because we do not have the time. But I will be happy to introduce any of those to you in additional sessions. So that's, as I said, the so-called backend selector in order to toggle between the product in question. Of course, any user using beta control can be assigned to a specific backend only. So if a user is supposed to see only information in DocSet, they would see only DocSet. They would not have the possibility to change. But for presentations, it is always quite helpful to have the possibility to show different products. So that's the backend selector. That's the product selector. I do apologize. Here you have the so-called option bar. We come to this in a second, especially when we talk about beta DocSet, because there, of course, we have that as well. That's the option bar. The options that you can see here, of course, they depend upon the backend that is connected. They are then backend specific. What I said before is you see me now on the right-hand side top. You have a group of backends that is put together, and I said the advantage of this beta control of this graphical user interface here is that you can group backends. And what I have here is I have put seven backends. I have put them together, which means that everything I will be doing or I am doing in beta control right now and in the next minutes is done for all the connected backends that are part of this group. So you could actually put together all critical backends here. As I said, everything is done for all backends that are part of this group, except, and you see one that says in maintenance, you can define a so-called maintenance mode for backends, for specific backends, because we actually send and call to every backend in order to get the information that we need. And if there is a backend instance, that is a system that undergoes maintenance or that is not available due to network errors or due to whatever reason, if it is clear that we will not be able to actually contact that backend to get information from there, this backend can be set to maintenance mode. The definition stays there, it stays assigned, it remains assigned to that very user, it stays in that group. But for the time this system is in maintenance mode, there won't be sent any calls, there won't be time and traffic wasted in order to actually trying to access a system that will not respond. So that's the maintenance mode. That's quite handy as well. And if you need other groups, provided the user has permission to do so in their roles, they can set up definitions for any need that they might have. You see here we have something for only the prod systems, and then we have some where there are more or less products. It depends entirely upon the needs that you have. You can switch between the backend groups, And why should you do that now? For example, because you would like to monitor. And that's one other option that I would like to address to you, is that such a dashboard, and as I said, that's true for all the other product types as well, you can actually call, or you can actually specify that this refresh for all the items that you see on that dashboard, that refresh will be done automatically every 1 to 99 minutes. You switch that on, and now this dashboard with all the information that you see, that would be agent status, job activities, and so on, everything that you see on the screen will be refreshed for all the backends that are behind that backend group. If you need other information, if you need other backends, you set up other backend groups. If you need other information on that dashboard, because I said maybe a manager does not need to see specific agents with job and error, maybe they want. I do not know what exactly is needed, but you could decide, and you have the possibility. I was here on the top left. You have the possibility to change the dashboard. There's two types of items that you can add to a dashboard. That's prepared dashboard elements. That is elements that we provide with Beta Control, so that they can be used by the administrators, by the operations people, in order to put them on the dashboard to have that. Or you could use the so-called saved searches. So you could actually say, I would have all demo jobs, or I would like to have all housekeeping jobs of the last 2 days. You could actually put that here, or you might say only the jobs in error that actually came in the last 2 hours. You would like to put that in one saved search, and that saved search you could then put here on the screen. Yeah? Here on the screen, you could actually change the size of the items. You could change information. So you could actually move that around if you wanted to, but I won't be doing that now. So that's something where you can actually manipulate the dashboard. Dashboard as such, groups. Next point that I would like to show to you is Beta Control for DocSet. As I said, it will start the same. I switch to Control for DocSet. First thing that we see in DocSet is the dashboard that is being built up. So this is something, you see the options that we have are less than we saw in Beta Job Plain. So starting with the backend selector here, going to the backends here, this is exactly the same in principle as we have seen it before. So saying also when I wanted to change the backend, the dashboard here, I could actually do that here. I have one dashboard element. Of course, it's a bit less than in Beta Control in JobSet, but that's the reason is because DocSet is new and the JobSet has already much more information. But other point is you could have saved searches here as well. Those you can add to the dashboard as you need them. You just take that item, then you can decide whether you want to see it as a number or whether you want to have it grouped by, and then you decide group by distribution type, by status. That's up to the user, to the administrator to decide what they want to see. Where's the difference user administrator? You can prepare a standard, a default dashboard for an application. So Control for DocSet, the administrator of Control can prepare a default dashboard that would be visible for all users. And according to the needs, to the specific, specific permissions of a user, it can be set up such that a user can add items for themselves. They can also say, I want to have that as a chart bar. Then you add that to the dashboard and you have the information as a new dashboard item. As I said, you can change the size of that widget, or you can put the widget somewhere else. So I will not do that. So I will actually just remove that and cancel for the time being. But I hope you could see there are possibilities for the dashboard in general. So if it comes to monitoring information, to refreshing all that already for beta or control for DocZ in its first release, that is possible. So I canceled it. So you could actually have you see in beta control, you have, for example, beta DocZ, you have 3 items in error that are in one of those backends. Clicking on that, you would actually see this information exactly, and now you would see exactly in which backend that is. So rather than waiting for a user to call that they didn't get their list that might need to be printed, rather than waiting for that incident to happen, you just have a look at, okay, there were 3 errors in DocZ that I saw. I see it's in backend ABC, so they are non-critical backends. Oh, there is one backend, here's a production backend, so that's critical. So therefore, I need to check that information a bit more detailed. Then you click on that item, and you can see the parameters that go with that. You have information on the distribution name, and then you would be able already to maybe open a ticket, to call someone concerned with a product or whatever might be necessary. You also have the possibility, I'm now on the actions part, right-hand side of the screen of that print request. You could also show the print elements. So people who use beta DocZ know that a print request can be quite large, starting with banner pages, with the address banners, recipient banner, whatever might be necessary. Then comes the actual print item document to be printed. Then you have trailing banners. Then you have maybe post-processing note, and all these elements can be displayed. This is very small, actually. This is just a simple print request that did not work. But here there might be multiple lines, because that might be a very complicated print request. Here already you could see more. Here you have the info code, for example, for every type that is part of the print request. Helps people already. So just going back, if you bear in mind, if you remember, we started in the dashboard of beta control, automatically refreshed. We saw the errors. We have important backends grouped together, so we get information from all those beta DocZ instances displayed immediately when there are errors. We click on the error, we get the backends displayed in which the error occurred, and then for the print request in question, we can drill down already. So this is what we provide with the first version of beta control for DocZ. So this is basically information displayed for the user in front of the screen. The action or the actions that might be required, that depends upon your feedback. So if you say, we would like to use control for DocZ for a specific user group, and in order to have that user group to work efficiently with DocZ or with control for DocZ, we need the following actions. That might be, for example, sending an email. That might be opening a ticket. That might be, I can't know. I don't know what you need today, whether you think this might be helpful for you. I do hope so, and I'm ready to exchange with you. Yeah, but this is something where we wait for your feedback. What we will not do, and that's what I said in the beginning at some point, we will not try to implement everything that is available under ZOS in the option 3.2 for the print queue. That would be over the top, quite over the top. So we would like to do that precisely to the needs that come up. So this is what we have on offer for beta control for DocZ. What you have seen before was in the print requests that here on the left-hand side, that's what you know from control as you know it today. That's what you know from in that sense from docz, because that's the selection parameters from docz. And the handling is the same. Mirko said it today, that we have a same look and feel, that we have one approach, how the access is built, the access to the products, to the information. So this is something, user experience, navigation, that's what you find in the other products in a similar way, always depending upon the product, upon the function in the product, upon the needs that there are. But what you see is you can select here, you can save the search that was said before. And as for the other products, you know already, maybe you can close that if it is not needed. So in order to finish, I will have 2 minutes more just to show you what we have as administration information. It's the usage report, for example. That means you can display for all the backends to which you have access. You can display information on the pages that have been read in. You have pages that have been put out, that is printed or saved somehow, and you have information on the pages archived. You have that cumulatively, and you have that for the last 2 calendar years. That's the so-called usage report. You know that from the other components, exactly the same for control for docz as well. And you have what I said before, you have the possibility to see at one glance, the systems that are connected, and you have the level of the system, that is the level of the backend, including also the BSA level. So that might be helpful for administrators as well, in order to see, am I on the latest level, because support is asking me, are you on that level, on which level are you? So this is something what you could see from here as well. The supported means here, in that very context today, that this is supported by beta control. So we are not talking about whether this is still under support as a product in general, but this version is supported by beta control. So with this, I am through. I am very happy that it worked, that the live part worked correctly without any problems. I hope that you got some information. I will be happy to exchange with anyone who is interested. I'm happy and ready to present more than what you have seen today. I hope it was a bit helpful. I wish you all the best for the next 2 days. And with this, I thank you very much for your patience, for your interest, and I give back to you, Niels.